Welcome to the Invisible Advantage. This is part 3, and I thought it would be appropriate if I was to take that opportunity to look at the first 2 challenges that I gave you at the end of your season, which was number 1, take a look at what your season brought to you. What worked? Analyze that. What didn't? And then what are you going to change moving forward? And that really led us into goal setting. Goal setting has failed a lot of people in the past because what it usually comes down to is, I really want to accomplish something. So I want to, get 6 shutouts. I want to make this hockey team. I want to do these, these specific dreams, or just throw these thoughts out there. But in order for you to become, say, a junior A goaltender when you come from a U18 program, you need to act like a junior A goaltender. Your behaviors need to change. There needs to be something that drives you towards achieving that goal every single day. It can't just be, I want to make that team. Everybody wants to make it. But in order for you to become that athlete, you have to become that future self right now. And that's what's going to help you get to where you need to be. So how do you become a butler to your future self? How do you train? So what I tend to do with athletes is use what is called an inversion technique. And that inversion technique is to say, if I was given the responsibility of a National Hockey League team, let's say the Vancouver Canucks, since I'm in Vancouver, I would first try to identify all of the things that I can do to destroy the Vancouver Canucks. I would try to figure out how to beat their goaltenders, what their tendencies were, where the weaknesses were on the defensive system, what weaknesses that the forwards had. And then I would start with that process. The second thing that I would do after I've made a list of what was going to destroy the team, I'd figure out what assets we had in order to protect those particular holes in the program. I mean, that's just what makes sense. We have this person, this defenseman, say it's Quinner, or you got other guys that are very, very good defensemen or very good forwards, defensive forwards. What are our goaltenders like? So since this is a goaltender kind of talk, let's talk about that. So we've got a Thatcher Demko. He's a big goaltender. He moves very quickly. He moves like he's 5'7", but he's a huge goaltender, well over 6'3", 6'4". So he moves really well in the net. And what are some of his assets that he brings to the game? His immense flexibility, whatever it is. Then I've also got to look at what Sheloff brings to the game and Lankinen brings to the game, and identify their strengths and their opportunities for improvement, and then build a game plan for each that ends up becoming something that they can blend right into. And then I got to take the opportunity to change some of the behaviors that take place in the off season that allow them to become that exceptional netminder, their own exceptional netminder. So without the behavioral change, it doesn't really matter what you've identified, because then you can go to your goaltending coach and you can spend hours and hours and hours trying to fix that problem. You can go to your goaltending coach and try to do different things, your fitness training coach, your mental training coach, but you have to change who you are in order to become who you want to be. So you think, okay, if I want to become the Vezina Trophy winner for the Vancouver Canucks, then I need to make sure that I am loyal to my plan, that I'm consistent with my performance, that I identify the players that we're going to play against, that I do my video and make sure that we're well prepared to face the opponents that we need to face. So let's bring it back down to you. If I had you as a client, then I would identify you as the goaltender that's in U18 that wants to play junior. What I would want to do in this offseason is identify what are all the things that junior hockey teams are going to do to pulverize you, to take your dream away. And then we've got to build that person. What does that person look like as an athlete? How fit are they? What's their VO2 max? Do they have muscular endurance? Do you have all of these assets? And if you don't, then we need to adjust your behavior so you can become that athlete day in and day out, well in advance of when you need to be there, okay? The second thing we need to do is take a look at your game. Is your game plan exactly what that coach wants to definitely, without any question, benefit what that coach needs moving forward? If you're not going to benefit that coach, if you're not going to be that goaltender that's going to amplify how he wants his defensive system played, and you're not going to work with that defenseman that seems to be coughing up the puck or is looking for an exit out of your zone, you need to marry the two positions, the defense and the goaltender. So as you move into junior hockey, what kind of a game plan do you have that's going to best amplify the team that you're trying out for? Okay. Number 3, you need to make sure that no matter what you're doing, that you're analyzing video, not only your own video to identify what works, what didn't, and what's got to change and as far as maturity and what your future goaltending self looks like. You need to look how you're going to cater to that goaltender. So you wake up in the morning, you're going to the gym, you're going to the gym like a junior A goaltender. You're identifying those behaviors and you're becoming that junior A goaltender well in advance of junior A season. The second thing, your game plan. The third thing, your flexibility and your ability to stay healthy throughout the season. The fourth thing you got to look at is your mental toughness and consistency. So when you're really focusing in as a goaltender, you've got to organize your time by priority. It's got to be budgeted that way. So if you just go and wake up in the morning and just live your day, you're really just getting on the canoe of life and then sailing down the river. What you need to do is get into a speedboat and go against the grain and work right up that river until you become the very, very best you can be. So what does that look like? So you've got to be able to navigate through a much larger game schedule, 72 games up here in Vancouver and throughout the Western Hockey League and the Ontario Hockey League, as well as the Quebec Major Junior. If you're going to play in a 72 game season, that means you're going to be on the road. That means you're going to be doing back-to-backs. That means you're going to be up against a lot of pressure to win, game in and game out. Plus, you're going to be practicing a minimum of 3-4 days a week minimum. Okay, so you're got to manage that workload and you got to manage where you are in that hierarchy. And the only way that you're going to be able to bump ahead of that number one goaltender that's in front of you is to learn from what he or she is doing and have the ability to make sure that you're building a plan that best suits that. Okay. And you got to do that now in March, in April, in May. You can't do that in August. You can't do that in September. I see it happen all the time. Here's the reason why. You show up in September, you're firing on all cylinders. Every single player on that team is at 0. You're performing 25% better than the entire team. Why? There's no system involved. They're not working together. Their line mates haven't been, identified or figured out yet. The defensive system's kind of broken up. So you're really the star because you're worrying about your own self. But as October comes around and November comes around, when that head coach brings everyone together, identifies their line and so forth, everybody gets 25, 50, 75% better. And if you're not growing at the same time, forget it. You're going to end up peaking and then crashing. So we've got to become the goaltender that can peak and continue to grow throughout the season, and that really starts now. So you compete in the physical arena, you compete in the mental arena, you compete in your game plan arena, you compete in your off-ice behavior, social arena, and you compete in your academic arena. Because let's face it, now that the Western Hockey League or the Canadian Hockey League, USHL, all go to the NCAA, well, now you can extend your 20th year or your 20th birthday into 4 more years playing in one of the premier hockey leagues in the world, okay, in the NCAA, and play for some of those great schools. So if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you're keeping those doors wide open. You don't want to come in and be a great hockey player and not be a very smart athlete. So again, you're competing in all those arenas. Look at all of those areas as arenas that you're competing in. You're competing in that academic arena. You're not a hockey player at that point. You're focusing on trying to give that teacher as much attention as you possibly can. You're taking the appropriate notes. You're setting up your study schedule. You're spending time with people that are smarter than you are so that you can be a part of their study programs. And you're keeping that axe extremely sharp. Secondly, in the gym, you want to be around people that are really, really, really good at maintaining fitness. Seeing someone that is a tremendous fitness person to identify the training program so that you know when to, improve, when to put more weights on, when to do a variety of different things to help you become a much, much better, more skilled, more talented, more healthy player. And then when you go to that gym, you're not a student anymore. You're not a hockey player anymore. You're an elite athlete in the gym. And then you got to change arenas again by switching over to your mental training arena. Are you taking 30 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day to go through some of your mental training and mental toughness so that you can reset and flex those mental muscles so that when you're in a game, you can make those changes that you need to make? Becomes absolutely critical, okay? Then you got to look at your hockey arena? How are you going to approach practice? How are you going to really pay attention to what that coach is trying to teach on the board and the assistant coaches are trying to ingrain within the players, and how can you best complement those things? So those become very, very, very important. And that all starts with behavior. It starts with becoming a better person. It starts with becoming a person of character. Okay. I don't care where you're playing right now. Okay. I've had 3 goaltenders this season alone go from house hockey to playing for major academies, whether it be for Shattuck St. Mary's or OHA. They're all over the place. And it doesn't matter what coaches, whether they select you or don't. Those are things you don't control. But the things I'm talking to you about today is, they are the things that you control. And those are the things that matter the most. How are you going to become a better person? How are you going to become stronger mentally? What type of people do you want to surround yourself with? How do you want to approach practice each and every day? What does your social arena look like? Do you hang around with a bunch of people that are losers, or do you hang around people that are really trying to chase a dream themselves and complement what you're trying to do and really encourage you to do the things that are going to help you become the very best? Don't jump into a plan that's flawed. Okay. Every single person wants to make a hockey team. Every single person says they want to do something. To me, they're dreamers. They're not doers. The people that get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they go for their run. They do their muscular endurance training. They take a moment and become mindful. They really work on their mental training. They get out there and they work on some of their skill development. They do all the things that they need to do that their goalie coach tells them to do. And they do more to become the player that they want to be. So that is really what I'm saying in the first 2 episodes. I'm hoping that this really helps you, okay, as you're starting to go through your quest for hockey. So let's talk about a few more things.